Welcome back, Weirdos and Weeboos, to the Child Wishing Doge, where today I want to talk about this map right here for a little bit. About something that I usually wouldn't make a video on, because it's quite a small topic, but god damn it, it's just a topic I really want to get off my chest. You see, this map, I'm sure most of you are familiar, but for those of you who aren't, this is Throne of Anubis. It was a map that was added back in Season 10 to be one of the maps for the new Clash game mode. And obviously, like every other map for the game mode so far, it is inspired from an older map that got removed because it was part of the 2CP game mode, which was horribly balanced. Of course, that being Temple of Anubis, with this being Throne of Anubis, its sort of successor. Now, this isn't my favourite map of all time, but I actually generally quite like this map. It's definitely on the upper end of if I had to rank every map in Overwatch right now, and I definitely think it's one of the better maps in Overwatch 2. That being said, apparently that's quite an unpopular opinion. Apparently most people actually hate this map, or at least are very indifferent to it. And I'm not gonna lie, that kinda caught me off guard. However, I can't shake the feeling it's because a lot of people really don't understand how to approach its first point. And just so you know, this isn't like a super accusatory, wow, you're just bad at the game thing. I mean, I think it's basically the case for basically everyone, that you hate the maps you hate because they do not play to your strengths. I mean, I hate sniper maps because I can't hit shots. I'm all about strategy and prediction. I'm not all about, oh, just click the head. So when you give me a map where it's just click the head because it's extremely long sightlines, I hate it. That being said, I just really wanted to talk about how I feel this first point is consistently misplayed by almost everyone I see, because I must admit, it's been annoying me a little bit, man. It's just like, ooh, it's frustrating to watch. So, hopefully, if any of you watching this video have been making this mistake, you can rectify it. Now, I want to be very clear, I'm not about to be an absolute Puritan here. I am going to tell you what I think the best way to approach this point is, but ultimately, the important thing to me isn't that you only do the thing I say is the perfect thing to do on this map. The thing that's important to me is that you just, for the love of God, don't do the thing that I say is the worst possible thing you could do on this map. I don't really care how you approach this map, this first point, so long as you don't do this one thing. And that one thing is, please, for the love of God, when you play this map, do not camp this doorway. Don't just come to the point, sit here, hold down your scope, and wait for an enemy to walk into it. Because I'm telling you, this is such a throw, and it seems to be the average behaviour that most players take on this map. Consistently, I have seen almost a one-to-one correlation with the amount of times I have a team that refuses to walk past this doorway and the amount of times we lose first point. I am genuinely thinking, out of the hundreds of times I have played this map since its release, if I can think of a single time I had a team that refused to go past this doorway but still won the point, and I don't think I can think of a single time. It's gotten to the point now where basically every single time I see my team stacking on this doorway, I can immediately just predict with almost 100% consistency, okay, we lost first point. Now don't get me wrong, I'm obviously still going to play it out. We can still win the entire game even if we lose the first point, but what I am saying is, my god, you're going to lose first point every time if you keep doing this. But why is that? Why is this such a terrible position to take? Well, to explain that, I would have to tell you a little bit about how you even take a point in Overwatch. Which, I mean, a little bit beyond the obvious of, oh, well, you stand on it and you kill all the enemies on it. I think most people understand on an intuitive level there's a bit more to it than that, but maybe they couldn't articulate it perfectly. But really, it's quite simple. What you want to be doing is, if you want to capture a point, if you want to make a point yours, you've got to make that point your space. And while, obviously, you might think that means, oh, so you've got to throw your tank in there. Yeah, that's what we already do and it doesn't work. Don't get me wrong, obviously the tank makes space, and it's their primary job, but everyone in the team makes space. Just because the tank is the one that's the most built for it doesn't mean you don't make space. And the way that most main DPS, the sort of hit scan characters, and some non-hit scans like Freya and Hanzo, the way that they make space is by looking at it. Now, like, seriously, if you have, like, an area of the map where there's enough distance that you can fight them and they can't fight you, at least not effectively, that's your space. Like, that's difficult for them to encroach on. I know this is really simple, but, like, sometimes I feel like we over-intellectualize space just a little bit, to the point where people think you have to be a tank, or you have to have some kind of special ability to make space. No, dealing damage makes space. Getting kills makes space. Obviously, there can be more complicated mechanics to making space, like knockbacks and CC and things like that, but just because there can be doesn't mean the basics don't also interact with space and the creation of it. So quite simply, if you're playing someone like, oh, I don't know, maybe Ash, the character I'm playing right now, if I look at this point, hey, what do you know, this point is now my space. Obviously, as a bit oversimplification, if I look at this point and there's 5 enemies all stacked on each other, and I'm the only one even somewhere near the point, it's probably not my space, because they're probably just going to tank all my damage, heal through it, and then absolutely obliterate me 5v1. But, I mean, assuming that all your team is here, it's an even 5v5, and everyone's trying to play to take the point, if you've got one team that's just got all 5 of them stacked on point, and one team that's got 4 of them stacked on point, and me over here, you can probably guess which team is more likely to win that fight. It's going to be me, because of the fact that I have this angle, and the other team doesn't. I took this area, which allowed me to then take this space. It's pretty simple. You just got to find a spot where you can safely fire on the point. It's that simple. Now, obviously, you could say, but hey, I can safely sight from the point from here. But I mean, I don't have to explain this, right? Like, you see the massive block of metal in the middle, right? So, you know what's going to happen. You're going to see the enemy tank walk onto point, and you're going to be like, oh, here's my chance. I'm gonna destroy that enemy tank on the point. I'm going to pump so much damage into them. I'm going to pam. Oh, actually, they just sat behind this and got healed. Oh, but hey, they're going to peek every now and then, and I guess I can shoot them when I peek. But the problem with that is, yes, you can shoot them when they peek. But because of the fact they're only going to peek when they have full health, and you're shooting a tank, you are literally never going to kill them. If you are just playing from this angle, unless the enemy tank is just straight up stupid and just lets you shoot them, even though they have cover right there, they are literally never going to die. All you do from this angle is, in fairness, you make yourself pretty safe for the time being, though I want to underline, for the time being. In the long run, this position isn't even that safe, and I'll explain why in a moment. But you make yourself pretty safe, at least for the time being, by playing from here. And when you look down this angle, yeah, you don't really pressure the point that effectively. But hey, at least you're securing this space. This really, like, short just line from here to here. This area is kind of your space. This little cone in front of the doorway. It's not much, but it's something. So here's the problem with that, and the reason why this position isn't particularly safe. Say your team sits at that doorway and doesn't move. You just send your tank to sit on the point, and the rest of your entire team just camps at that door and doesn't move. You've got like a Soldier Ash and a Brig, and they're all just planted on that spot, and they are not budging. And then the enemy team shows up and, you know, actually has some balls and walks forward and gets onto point. There you go. Surprise. Hey, look, we're on point. Now, of course, they're not going to get to the point immediately because your tank is playing from here and they are contesting it, and it's going to be difficult to remove them when they're double-pocketed from this position. And like I said, in fairness, to start with, this is going to be a hard position for the enemies to clear. And so, the tank is going to be pretty resilient. But just because the tank is alive here doesn't mean they're doing a whole lot. They're basically just preventing the capture of the point, but they're not actually getting any chance to cap it themselves because, I mean, like, they're 1v5 practically. Like, yeah, they're not 1v5, they're getting pocketed from here. But in terms of damage output, they're 1v5. Like, if they want to finish a kill, they're going to have to do some damage, see an enemy that gets low, chase them as they go behind cover, and by the time they get to here, they're going to start getting less heals, or maybe even no heals if they have to get all the way over here. And on top of that, there's going to be no pressure from their team onto this angle, and they are probably going to explode for daring to move from this spot. So your tank is kinda just being left in a death trap with absolutely no plan for getting out if you're all playing from this doorway. All you're doing is keeping them on life support, but it's just delaying the inevitable. If none of you are willing to get active and get in there and do something to help your tank, they're basically either going to sit on point until they die, or sit on point until they have to cut and run. And neither of those outcomes are very good. What makes this worse, though, and the reason why this position will become unsafe, is because, sure, you're enforcing the space here in this little cone right in front of the doorway. But do you know what the enemies can do? They can either just drop down here, boom, and, oh hey look, got an angle on you here, or, you know, they could do the opposite. They could come through here. Oh hey, would you look at that, nice lovely angle on everyone, cover right here, health pack not even that far behind me, perfect position to pressure the enemies from. And because of the fact there's this wall here, you can't even immediately get out of the way of the shots. If you want to take cover, you got to go run into them, making the shot as easy as possible, and then round here, and you're just dead by this point. This angle, at the very least, you got more of a chance to be able to just, if you react in time, turn the corner and chase them and kill them for trying to peek. But even then, it's a bit of a risky game you're playing. In fairness, if you were taking heat from either this angle or that angle, you could take cover here and then die to the people who are standing on point and shooting you. You see the problem? When you sit here and you keep sitting here and you just let the enemies have this entire room and all you do is say, "You're not allowed this little corner, I'm not letting you have this corner, you can have everything else though." What happens is, they get the entire room, including the sides that both have these little entrances that flank you and have you surrounded on all sides. So you never want to play from here, at least for not a prolonged period of time. So with that in mind, where do you want to play on this map? Well, there's 3 other ways you can approach the map. One of them is, of course, the high ground. Which, to be honest, despite the fact that you need mobility to reach it, I'm not saying that the high ground is a bad idea. I wouldn't never use it. I do use it sometimes. But I do think the high ground is niche. The main use of the high ground, it's got a really good angle on this area of the map, which I do think is quite important, and we'll get to that later. However, as you might notice, from this position, you still actually can't really see much a point. Like, at least it's a different angle, you know, but it's not the most pressure you can actually dole out from here. In fact, probably the place that you can pressure the most easily is the other high ground, if both of you decide to go high ground. Now, obviously that changes if you take this angle. Hey, now in terms of like just pure how many places you can shoot that are relevant, this is one of the strongest positions you could take on the entire map. But the obvious problem is, it's also a position with no cover out in the open that's really, really obvious. And so it's usually not a position you can actually sustain. It's the kind of place you jump onto to go for a quick, cheeky couple shots, and then you get the hell off. You can't really stay here for a long time. So I don't really like taking the high ground in most scenarios, but if you know what you're doing, you can take it, and at the very least, taking the high ground is definitely better than just standing at this doorway. But yeah, I'm not a massive fan of the high ground here. Which I can't believe I'm saying, because usually I'm a big high ground stan. Another place that people might go is obviously this side of the map. And once again, I don't think this is the best, but I think it's definitely better than standing at the door. You've got a better angle on point. You know, not perfect, but pretty good. You do have to peek quite wide to get a actually really good look at point and be able to shoot everywhere. And obviously if you're peeking this wide, you're playing a bit of a dangerous game. The edge is right there, and you're kind of moving away from your cover to do that, because if you hug the cover, you kind of struggle to see the point quite as much. But still, you do have the bounce pad right here, which is a little sketchy, but every now and then you can use it to go for some cheeky, creative plays. Generally, though, it does kind of make you a sitting duck to be using that. And yeah, overall, I still am not a big fan of this section of the map, but at the very least, once again, much better than sitting at the doorway. You at least have a safe escape that isn't likely to get you surrounded very easily, and on top of that, it actually gives an angle where you can kind of see behind this cover. But this is all ignoring the elephant in the room. How do I think you should really approach this point, in my opinion? What is the best way to approach this point? This might seem really simple, but I think it really is this simple. This way. And I almost don't even care what character you are. Obviously, I'm exaggerating a little bit. There's going to be some characters where you don't want to play from here, but basically every hero in the game wants to be playing from here. Now, obviously, there's a bit more nuance there. Obviously, if your entire team stacks on here, that's not great. You want to split up a bit. You want to take multiple angles. So, in fairness, hey, I think it's good to have at least one person on the doorway most of the time. I'm mostly criticizing people who just all stack on the doorway. But yeah, if you play from here, you might see quite a lot of reasons why this is a strong position to take. So first of all, point's right there. This is the clearest view of the point you can get from literally any angle in the map with the least amount of cover that they can take. So that's already a massive upside for you. But then on top of that, there's the fact that you've got this massive piece of cover right here, which can double as a makeshift high ground if you have a mobility ability. So that's pretty good. There's also the real high grounds right here for you to take if you decide that that would be a good idea. There's the fact that there's a mega health pack right behind you, and even one that's blocked by line of sight because of this in most angles, so the enemies won't even be able to tell. If I'm a tracer that's sneaking up on you and want to take a fight, I don't even know if that health pack is in use or not right now, or if you've already taken it. And so they don't get that information until they're already pretty deep. They've also got to waste time jumping up here, which can mess up their mobility if they're trying to dive you. And even if they manage to snatch this health pack before you can get to it, there's another health pack right here. in another area that's really awkward for people to catch you in, and so you can easily take a sort of last stand 1v1 in here, and if you win that 1v1, you'll be pretty easily allowed to just slip away, either by taking another health pack, or if you just sit here and wait, or going and taking the mega potentially if you have the chance, or by sneaking out to the bounce pad, and maybe when no one's looking, being able to go, okay, no, I'm out. Obviously, both ways a little bit risky, but at the end of the day, it's certainly a lot better than just having to sit there in the open like a sitting duck. Lastly, this might seem small, but I actually think this is almost kind of underrated, is the fact that you can just get to point from here. Like, there's this little ledge here that just lets you... Yeah. I think most people know this, but just in case you didn't, yeah, you can just jump to point from here. Which means that even if, like, say, you're playing this angle, and while you're playing this angle, basically your entire team dies, but at the very least they took out most of the enemies. There's only one guy left, you go dink, dink, okay, oh, I finished them off, okay, we won, but oh no, the point is there, and I'm over here, and you might think, oh no, and now I've got to walk like this, and then, oh no, 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 okay, now I'm capping it, oh no, their team got back in time, and now I don't get the point. No, don't even have to do that. All you got to do is just say you got the kill from here, you just... jump, point, done it. So, yeah, I know that just seems really small, but, like, I just think there's so many little things about this position that makes it really, really, really strong. And I'm honestly absolutely baffled as to why it seems no one wants to play from here most of the time when I see random players in my games. It seems no one likes taking this position, even though in most games I see of this map, whoever wins first point is whoever takes this position. Especially because we haven't even gotten to the fact that once you have this position, let's even say that you're not getting a lot done by pressuring point. Maybe their tank is an Orisa that's getting loads of healing, and it's loads of damage reduction, and you're not even doing that much damage, and so you can, like, tap them, but you don't really feel like you're doing anything. You know what you can do? You can just walk here, and by the way, everyone's busy fighting on point. Like, you might get spotted, but with the amount of cover there is over here, the amount of line of sight blockers, there's a decent chance no one will see you. Just walk over here. Walk over here. And hey, look, that support that's just been camping at the doorway, doing nothing, taking literally no actions of their own, just acting like a bot. Think, dead. That easy. Decent chance they don't even hear you coming. Decent chance they have no idea you're here until you already get the dink. So having control of this area of the map not only gives you the single best angle to pressure the main point in the entire map, it not only gives you access to two extremely close by health packs that are both very protected and very easy to access from your position, it not only provides you a level of sort of high ground that makes you awkward to access with even higher high grounds in close proximity for you to use if you have vertical mobility, but it also provides you an extremely effective flank route and an extremely effective escape route on top of that. This single spot of the map just packages everything you want in one. So obviously I'm going to make the argument, I think basically everyone should play to take that side of the map. You should play to take the right side, not just run straight onto point and not just camp at the doorway and wait for the enemies to come to you. But hey, if you disagree with me, if you feel like on your character, with your playstyle, this side of the map just isn't optimal for you, well, I'm obviously skeptical. I think most characters do want to be here. At the very least, just please, for the love of God, get off this doorway. Now, I will say, in fairness, obviously I'm using Ashe as an example here, because like I said, I feel like Ashe is the character I see this mistake the most frequently on, and the character where it's the most egregious. What I will say, though, is it possible that it isn't a throw to take this position? Yes, I think it can be possible for you to take this position and it to not be a throw, if you are in a very specific situation. If you are a support, like an Ana, and your tank really does just need healing, they don't need anything else, which a lot of the times they do need something else, which is why I don't think the situation is actually very common, but hey, let's just say all they need is heals. They don't actually need anyone to help them in the fight, they don't actually need anyone to take angles with them, they literally just need heals and they can win. Obviously in that case, this is a pretty safe position to take with a very clear line of sight on at least the part of the point that your tank is going to be playing, and you are pretty secure so long as no one gets the flank on you. So yeah, maybe you could play from here at least for a bit. But again, even when you find those slim scenarios where I would say that this position isn't the worst position to play, I still really vehemently think, at best, if you want to play from here, you play from here for like 5-10 seconds, and if you're still here after 5-10 seconds, you should have alarm bells in your head going off saying, I'm gonna get flanked, we're gonna get surrounded, we're taking no space, we don't have control of the left side of the map or the right side. I went right and then left. I'm terrible with my lefts and rights, okay? You know what I mean. The left side of the map or the right side of the map, we don't have control of either. We've only got control of this little circle. That means they can just take either angle, and I don't know which one they're going to come from. I've got to get away from this spot. I've got to start playing a position. I've either got to start coming in from here and looking to maybe fight for this angle, or at the very least, I've got to go that way. I can't just sit here and park my butt here. The only okay, I will say, the one other thing I will give this position is that I do think you have a pretty good chance of taking someone out on high ground. But I've already said that this high ground, while it's definitely not the worst play, I don't even think it's really the best. So, yeah. I think the best thing that the high ground's got going for it is, like I mentioned earlier, I think the high ground is the best position to deal with people on this angle. So I think it can be really smart to take the high ground if you've already got someone trying to take this angle, and then you've got someone else on the high ground. That can be really strong. Like if you've got like a tracer that's trying to take this area, and then you've also got an Ash. I like the idea of having the tracer take the ground route, and the Ash take the high ground, and have the tracer run around and have the Ash like clear out this angle. And once you know that no one's going to fight you for this angle because you've already cleared them all out, then maybe the Ash can drop and start pressuring point like this. Or maybe she jumps straight to there, and then jumps down here later. Either way, it's just very important. This is why Overwatch is a game where people constantly talk about taking angles and making space. Because at the end of the day, if you want to put this in monkey brain terms, having space is like having banana farms.
Oh, banana.
You just get resources for free. You don't have to use anything, you don't have to be particularly good. If you have more angles than the enemy, you are winning the fight more every second that it passes until the enemy takes those angles from you. When you don't take angles, when you play passive in Overwatch and you don't want to take this part of the map, you don't want to take that part of the map, you don't want to take anywhere, you just want to sit here and act like a little torp turret. When you do this, what you basically say is, I am going to choose to put none of my resources into any kind of long-term value. I'm just going to hope that I hit so many shots from here, and I pop off so hard that I can fight the inexorable tide of the entire map control being lost to the enemy team and being surrounded on all sides. And I'm sorry, it just doesn't work that way. It will be very rare that you completely give up map control as a team and yet still win just because you hit your shots. Now, I spent this whole time talking about the central point, mostly because the other 2 points I don't really see much to say about. First of all, this map is symmetrical for those of you who don't know, so I'm only looking at this side because the other side would be identical. This point, I think most people realize this high ground is valuable. A lot of people like to play from here and all that, get these flanks. I don't really see any plays that people make on this point that really, like, get me, ooh, what are we doing here? This is really winding me up. I don't really have that with this point. I feel like everything is fine from what I see when people play on this point. And even the last point, which, to be fair, you don't see much, because it's pretty hard to get this far, and usually if you do get this far, this point is so ridiculously hard to take that most people don't even bother, because it just kind of might stagger you trying to take it. But the last point is here. And it's pretty obvious why it's very defensible. The spawn room does move back, so you might have noticed this is a spawn room right now, but if you were here, the spawn room would move back to there. Bengay. But yeah, obviously they've got like this little castle area. I know it's not a castle, but it feels sort of castle-y with these ramparts and all that. It's very, very defensible high ground for them to shoot onto the point with. This is basically the only cover you have, and it's also really hard for anyone who's trying to get back to point to get in the fight, because they've got to come up these precarious staircases that leave them very open to fire from the enemy team. So, obviously this point is really difficult to take. I don't really even have like a, oh, this is the way you attack this point, to be honest, because I don't play it enough, frankly. Even if I play this map a lot, again, most people just don't even bother trying to take this part of the map. They just kind of let the enemies have it, so, as well as that, if you do get this far, usually you have so much momentum that even if you are playing bad positions, you still win. So, yeah. I know that might seem weird, but I'm genuinely trying to think. I think every single time I've actually took a fight in this part of the map, it's either been a game where I've been completely getting stomped, or a game where I've been stomping so hard that it wouldn't really matter, you know? I don't know, I personally do like taking wide angles on this map. At the very least, I'll say that. I like playing like either way over there or way over here. I don't really like, you know, playing close to these walls, because I feel like you just get blitzed from the high ground. But even that, I think it's just a small piece of advice, and I don't really see people disregarding that advice. I just see people do a bunch of different things with that point. So yeah, I don't really have any issues with the other points, which is why I just wanted to focus in on this central point. It's the only one that I feel like people... The way people play it, really, it messes me up, and it really, it bothers me, because don't get me wrong, there are always points where I see people that I feel they play it wrong, But at the very least, I feel like a lot of the times, either it's because it's a new map and people aren't used to how they want to play it yet, or if it's not a new map and they're making the mistake, it's usually at least like, hey, you know, it's a mistake not because it's a stupid idea in the first place, but because it's a stupid idea in this context. Like, I feel like people fight way too much for the, if you're the attackers, the left side high ground on Numbani. Obviously, it's a decent plan to take the left side high ground, but it depends on your comp, and sometimes there'll be like an enemy Junkrat who can just absolutely blitz that choke and make it impossible, and people will still try to go through there, and that sucks, and that winds me up. But at the very least, with things like that, it's like, okay, but that's not a bad idea in a vacuum. The only reason I consider this to be a mistake is because they're not considering the composition we're running versus the composition they're running. If we were running a different composition, this could be a good idea. But I'm not gonna lie, I don't think there's any composition you could run where just standing at this doorway makes sense. So, yeah, I think this is probably, in my opinion, the most egregious, common mistake I see with positioning on any map in Overwatch, is people just camping this doorway. So I had to make a little video about it. With all that said, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.